Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking one of the most recognized symbols in the world, the Taijitu.
Or what most people just call the Yin and Yang symbol.
Exactly. And we're treating it not just as, a design, but as a full-on cosmic map. You've given us this incredible stack of sources on how it's seen across totally different philosophies, way beyond its Taoist roots. We're talking Sufism, Gnosticism, Hermeticism.
Even early Vedic thought.
Yeah. So our mission today is to see how each of these traditions really maps their entire universe onto that simple black and white swirl.
And I think we have to start with the central tension right away. I mean, when you see that symbol, you think balance, right? Harmony.
Yeah, of course.
But the real philosophical question, and it runs through all your sources, is whether the symbol shows a balance that comes from creation or if it represents the source, the very principle that generates the duality in the first place.
It's a question of sequence then. What comes first? The unity, the dynamic principle, or the duality itself? Okay, let's unpack this.
We have to start right inside the Chinese tradition because there's a fundamental disagreement there that really sets the stage for everything else.
Right. The sources you gave us point to two big models, one from the Yujing tradition.
Yeah, which was really nailed down by Zhu Dunyi.
And the other older one from the Tao Te Ching.
Let's start with the Yijing model because it's probably the most common metaphysical take. It begins with Wuji, the void, just undifferentiated nothingness.
Okay.
And that leads to Taiji, the supreme ultimate. Now, Taiji is the first dynamic principle. It's movement, it's an impulse, and it exists before yin and yang.
So in this view, the Taiji is the source. It precedes the whole polarity. The movement of that Taiji creates yang, and when it settles, that's what creates yin.
Precisely. The Taiji is the generator. So the swirls in the symbol are actually showing you the birth, the process of polarity being born from a single unity.
Okay, so now contrast that with the Tao Te Ching, chapter 42.
Yes, and this is the one that many feel aligns more with, what we actually see in nature.
How?
The sequence is different. It goes Tao, which is the source, or Wuji. That leads to the one, the initial unity.
The unsplit state.
Right, which then leads to two. And the moment you get to two, that's when yin and yang appear. They co-arise. They're born at the same time from that split.
That feels like a subtle difference, but philosophically it's massive.
It is. If you think about it like a cell dividing, the active part and the receptive part emerge together. They are a product of the split, not generated by some prior force.
So the Taijitu becomes a map of the product of existence, not the source.
Exactly. And that ties right into the Hermetic principle of polarity, which basically says opposites like hot and cold are just two ends of the same stick. They co-arise.
Okay, so before we jump into the other traditions, let's just nail down the anatomy of the symbol itself. What do the parts represent?
Great idea. First, Wuji is the void. It's the blank page before the symbol even exists.
Right.
Then, the center circle, which you sometimes see, represents the one, their first undivided state.
And the outer circle containing everything.
That's the whole dynamic process, the unfolding, the eventual balance of yin and yang. The whole symbol shows the flow from unity to duality to interaction, the dots.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Moving from Taoism to the West, let's talk about Gnosticism, which sees the whole cosmos as, a mistake.
A mistake, yes, a flawed creation. And for them, the Taijitu becomes a map of redemption. The outer circle is the Puroma, the divine fullness, total perfection. Basically, Wuji.
But something goes wrong.
Something goes very wrong. An eon, Sophia, falls out of ignorance and she gives birth to the demiurge.
And he becomes the active principle.
He becomes the yang, active, creative.
Yeah.
But, and this is the key, he's blind. He's ignorant of the true Pleroma.
And the material world he creates.
That's the yin, passive, receptive, in a prison.
Wow. So the active yang principle is flawed right from the start. The whole thing is a map of illusion.
That's it, exactly. And the swirls are the soul's journey, trapped. But the dots, that little bit of the opposite, that's the divine spark from the Pleroma, trapped inside the material prison. The goal isn't balance, it's escape.
But then why use a symbol that represents harmony at all if the goal is to break free of duality, not harmonize it?
Because it maps the reality of their situation. It's a tragic diagram of their exile, showing that even in the darkest prison, that little spark of light, the dot, still exists.
Okay, that makes the shift to Hermeticism even more dramatic. They also deal with duality, but they have a completely opposite view of the cosmos.
Completely. For the Hermeticist, the cosmos is not evil, The creator, the divine mind or nous, is wise. So for them, the outer circle is still the all, and the nous is the one, the first perfect emanation.
So the swirl isn't a story of exile?
No, it's a rhythm. It's the soul's descent and return. It's a map for divine self-knowledge. The goal is mastery within the world, not escape from it. It's about embracing duality as the path.
Okay, let's pivot again to monotheism. This feels like a huge leap because now we're dealing with an absolute singular unity God. How does a symbol of duality fit into Islam, for instance?
Well, in Sufism, it fits beautifully. It's used to illustrate the unity of being. For them, the outer circle is, without a doubt, Allah, the one reality.
So the duality isn't in God?
No, it's in how God's attributes are manifested.
Yeah.
The swirl symbolizes two complementary sets of divine attributes. You have, say, Kahar, the dominant, which is sort of yang, and Rahman, the merciful, which is yin. They aren't opposites fighting. They are two necessary expressions of the same divine reality.
And the dots.
The dots and Tajali, the divine light appearing in all things. It's a map of perfect unity manifesting as a complementary system.
But that's Sufism. Orthodox Islam is much stricter about God's absolute oneness, or tawhid.
Much stricter. So for them, yin and yang cannot be divine principles. Instead, the symbol shows creation's balance under God's will.
So they're created forces.
Exactly. Things like Jalal, divine majesty, and Jamal, divine beauty, or decree and mercy. The symbol is still useful because it illustrates mizan, the perfect order and balance that Allah has established. It reinforces unity.
That structure, unity and manifestation, actually helps us get to Trinitarian Christianity.
It does. For some Catholic views, the outer circle is God the Father, the source.
And the principles that emerge.
The yang is often seen as the Son, the active word made flesh. And the yin is the Holy Spirit, the receptive, immanent presence. The swirl is the dynamic life of the Trinity.
And I guess the dots would be things like the incarnation, the divine within the world.
Precisely. Of course, many Protestants would just reject the symbol outright, for similar reasons to Orthodox Islam. Too much focus on balance, not enough on absolute unity.
But let's move to a tradition where this interplay isn't just symbolic, it's seen as a physical, verifiable truth. Let's talk about early Vedic thought.
This is where it gets, just incredible. Here, the outer circle is Purusha, the cosmic person, the whole.
And the swirl.
The swirl is Yanya, the sacred rituals, the act of offering that keeps the entire cosmos going through this dynamic exchange.
And the forces in that exchange are Agni and Soma.
Yes. Yang is Agni fire, the active upward force. Yin is Soma the moon, the receptive, nourishing essence. The universe literally depends on the correct rhythm between these two.
And the source material you gave us has this one specific story that just perfectly explains what the dot of yin within yang really means here.
Oh, it's amazing. Rig Veda tells the story of the sage Atri. He's thrown into a pit of raging fire.
Okay.
And he's saved by the divine healers, the Ajivans. But crucially, they don't put the fire out. That would destroy Agni, the active principle.
So what did they do?
They made the fire cool.
They made it cool.
Yes. They covered the searing heat with coldness. It changed the fire's quality without destroying its essence. For the Vedic seers, this was proof. The dot of yin and yang isn't a gentle metaphor.
It's a physical truth.
It's a physical truth, that within every extreme force, like fire, its absolute complement coolness is already there, waiting to be revealed.
And that power to transform it, that comes from Brahman, the power in the sacred word.
Exactly. The knowledge and the ritual unlock the ability to access the hidden opposite and make the impossible happen.
Which brings us perfectly to our last group, the esoteric systems, which see the Taijitu as basically an instruction manual, a map for inner alchemy.
Franz Barton's work is a perfect example. For him, the outer circle is Akasha, the fifth element, this unifying field.
And the swirls are what he calls the electric and magnetic fluids, his version of yang and yin.
Correct. Yang is the electric fluid, active, expansive. Yin is the magnetic fluid, receptive, contractive. And the swirl isn't some cosmic process. It's the 10-step training of mental alchemy within the student.
So the goal is to harmonize those forces inside yourself.
Yes. True spiritual power for Barton comes from that perfect inner equilibrium.
And you see echoes of that in Wiccan traditions, with the sacred marriage of the god and goddess, the solar and lunar forces.
Absolutely. The athame and the chalice, the cycle of the seasons, it's all about that internal and external balance.
So just to finish, how does the Taijitu compare to, say, the tree of life in the Hermetic Kabbalah?
Well, they both show a descent from an undifferentiated source, Wuji, or Ein Sof art into manifestation. But the tree of life is a very detailed, structured roadmap for initiation. The Taijitu is more about the constant dynamic flow of opposites needed to keep the whole system running.
So just to recap this whole journey, we've seen this one symbol as the source of duality in the I Ching, the product of duality in the Tao Te Ching,
A tragic map of a flawed creation for the Gnostics.
the perfect manifestation of divine attributes for the Sufis, and a guide for inner alchemy for someone like Barton.
And the one thing that's consistent through all of them is that the Taijitu is never static. It's always about dynamic flow. It's this beautiful idea that no created state is absolute. Even in the brightest light, the seed of darkness is there, and vice versa. It's that transformative power that keeps everything in motion.
So, if the power of a sacred word could reveal the hidden coolness inside a raging fire, like the Vedic seers believed, it makes you wonder, what fundamental quality of the universe, or even just your own world, have you always accepted as absolute? That might actually contain the seed of its complete opposite.